If you're someone that's tired of getting stronger and stronger prescription lenses, suffering with dry eyes, weakness of the eyes, spasms in your eyes, or even headaches due to poor vision, then this video is for you. Now let me be upfront, I'm not an optometrist. I was someone who had become quite frustrated with getting stronger and stronger prescription lenses. I was suffering with spasms in my eyes that were almost occurring on a daily basis. I was getting frequent headaches because of my poor vision. And every time I would go and see a professional, I would get prescribed stronger and stronger lenses, and it wasn't really solving the problem with the spasms. There was nothing that they could do in order to help me resolve that. But most importantly, I want to say that I'm not here to bash the optometry profession. They're actually doing quite a lot of great work, especially when it comes to emergencies or those serious eye conditions. However, I think there's a space for collaboration. There's a space for integration of these holistic approaches with the conventional approaches, so that these holistic approaches are used as the first line of defense rather than prescribing people with lenses that act as band-aid solutions rather than solving the underlying problem. I'm going to share with you today a number of holistic practices that I've come across. But before I get into today's video, I just want to mention none of this is medical advice. These are basically my personal experiences that I'm sharing with you today, so please do your own research. Welcome to another episode of Navigating Wellness. This episode I'm going to be sharing with you all these holistic approaches that I came across, most notably from Dr. William Bates, called the Bates method, and this is what really led to profound changes in my eyesight and my overall eye health. It was the catalyst for a number of improvements and the reason why today I'm able to deliver this video and to go without wearing prescription lenses. But I do want to mention, I was not, and I'm probably still not, that disciplined in applying all these practices. Initially, I was very disciplined because I was trying to overcome the spasms, and as the spasms reduced, I started to relax on the discipline with regards to a number of these approaches. But despite that, I still experienced quite profound benefits from having applied some of these methodologies in the Bates method, and those results were quite eye-opening. But for those who are really serious and disciplined, I'm sure there are profound benefits that you can experience from implementing a number of these strategies. So those who really want to dive deeper, I highly recommend going and reading that full book so that you can get the really deeper insights, because what I'm going to share with you is things at a high level, things that I put in practice and that made quite a difference in my life. And I'm sure if you dive deeper with these practices, they are most likely going to give you quite profound benefits. So with that said, let's dive into today's video. Let me take you back in time about 15 years ago, and this is when I started to develop these eye spasms. Now I noticed that every time I go and see an optometrist, the prescriptions on my lenses used to just increase and my eyesight was getting progressively worse. And there was nothing that they could do about the spasms besides giving me stronger prescriptions. And I started to notice that these spasms were getting worse over time, and I would start to experience things like dry eyes more frequently and constantly have to resort to eye drops to try and help lubricate my eyes. But it was making my eyesight really challenging, as well as giving me these frequent headaches that were making it hard to concentrate on anything that I wanted to for longer periods of time. And essentially, this led me down the path searching for holistic solutions, and I stumbled across the Bates method, and this was developed by Dr. William Bates, and essentially is a compilation of a number of eye exercises, holistic practices that we can incorporate into our life to try and heal our eyesight naturally and to start bringing profound changes and overall improvement in our eyesight and making us less reliant on these eyeglasses. And that essentially was the catalyst to help me improve my eyesight, as well as put me on this path towards holistically trying to address the problem. And it in essence ended up helping me resolve a lot of the eye spasms that I was experiencing. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you in today's video. So with that said, let's dive in. Now let me use a metaphor to put this all into perspective. Wearing eyeglasses is kind of like sticking duct tape on a leaking pipe. You may be solving the leak temporarily, but you're doing absolutely nothing to fix the pipe itself. Now whenever I wore eyeglasses, I was in fact making my eyes work less and less. My eyes were not focusing, and they were in fact turning into lazy boy mode, because all that the prescription lenses were doing was correcting this obscure vision. So I was constantly seeing obscurely and just having these corrective lenses try and fix that. And unfortunately, just like every other muscle in our body, if we don't use it, we end up losing it. And that's why progressively over time, my lenses, or my prescription for my lenses, started to become stronger and stronger as my eyes started to progressively get worse. So one thing I realized when going down this path of the Bates method is that I had to try my best to go without my glasses as much as possible, to start forcing my eyes to exercise those muscles and to start seeing more clearly. So whenever possible, I tried to avoid wearing glasses, unless it was those activities that required that clarity, like for example, driving, things where I knew I would be putting my own life and other lives in danger. Those are the activities that you generally want to continue using your eyeglasses. However, things that I could do safely, like walking around the house, looking at signage, things like walking around town where I knew I could safely do it without eyeglasses, I would try and go without it and start forcing my eyes to start exercising those muscles. And over time, I started to notice a progressive improvement of my eyesight through just this one practice alone, because this practice was something that was essential for helping me sort of kickstart those lazy muscles again and get them to start exercise again. And I noticed that every time I would go back to the optometrist, my eyesight was constantly improving. So this is something that made quite a profound difference. Okay, so let's talk about some of these techniques or practices that are recommended by Dr. Bates that I personally practice. Number one is sunning. And no, it isn't just staring at the sun like some crazy lizard hoping that your eyes are miraculously just going to revive and refresh itself. In essence, what it is closing your eyes, facing the sun, moving your head from side to side, doing this either during sunrise or at sunset, not during the middle of the day or other times of the day, because that sunlight can be potentially too strong. However, you'll find that if you do this practice recommended by Dr. Bates, it's actually quite nourishing, and that light brings quite a lot of relaxation to your eyes. You may find yourself feeling quite refreshed after this exercise, and something that you may want to incorporate for prolonged periods of time, given the amount of nourishment and relaxation and refreshing feeling that you may have from practicing this. So that's the first technique that Dr. Bates recommends that I put into practice. The second practice that I started to incorporate was something called palming. Now, palming doesn't mean slapping your face or slapping your eyes. No, it's in essence where you rub your palms together, you allow for it to get warm, and then you place it over your eyes for long periods of time, where you allow for the eyes to just relax, and you start to then become very mindful and visualize your eyes healing. Now, Dr. Bates also has a story in his book about a man who practiced this palming exercise and visualized his cataracts just dissipating away. And just through doing this palming exercise, and I think if I recall correctly, he'd done this exercise for 20 hours straight. And with that intensity, he managed to dissipate the cataracts in his eyes. So this is another really strong methodology and technique that Dr. Bates recommends to try and heal your eyesight. Let's move on to the third one. Number 3 of the Bates techniques that I tried to incorporate was pinhole glasses. Now, these are glasses that in essence try and focus your vision. They like these glasses with these tiny little holes so that they focus your vision through it to try and see a particular aspect much more clearly. Now, if you can't afford pinhole glasses or you don't want to go out and buy it, there's another alternative that you can do to help focus your eyesight, and that is just taking your fingers and trying to make as small a hole as possible through here that you're going to place over your eyes and try and focus on something in the distance that you can't see clearly. And you'll notice that by doing this and placing it over your weak eye and looking at something like maybe it's a clock that you can't see the time from at the current distance that you are from it, but by doing this exercise and placing this pinhole over your eyes and starting to focus on it, you'll notice that the time oddly becomes back into focus. And you'll be quite surprised that even your weak eye can see at a distance when it's just focused through a pinhole. So this practice I found to be also quite beneficial in terms of helping to focus your weaker eye muscles, especially if you have a weaker eye where you can't see as far, and you start doing this practice more often, it will start helping that eye start to train and come into focus better. So those are the top 3 techniques that I try to put in practice, especially during the time when I was trying to overcome the spasms as well as try and heal my eyesight. Let me share some of these conventional practices that many of you may be aware of, but actually do quite a bit to help address a lot of the overstrain that our eyes experience. Because let's just be real, these screens, cell phones, mobiles, they're not going anywhere. And by now your eyes probably feel like overworked interns from staring at these devices for prolonged periods of time. Number 1 is the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, try and stare at something 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds, and that's going to allow for your vision to stretch and to bring some relief from constantly staring at a screen. And if that's not possible, try and situate your workstation close to a window so that you always have that opportunity to swing your chair around and stay outside the window and allow for your eyesight to stretch. Now, number 2 is to roll your eyes in a good way. Now, maybe you have that friend or that colleague at work who constantly makes you roll your eyes. Well, here's the good part to it. At least they're going to help you get your daily dosage of eye exercises. That's even doing exercises like stretching your eyes, looking to the left, looking to the right, looking up, looking down, not moving your neck like I am, but trying to do these exercises is going to allow for your eyes to stretch. So do it by looking up, looking down, looking to the right, looking to the left, and then roll your eyes in a clockwise direction, roll it in an anti-clockwise direction. And just doing that exercise alone can help to stretch those eye muscles, because many of us end up focusing in front of a screen and not doing these exercises in the day, or we're turning our head and our eyes aren't really getting that opportunity to stretch and do these exercises. Now, number 3 is to use an eye mask when you go and sleep. Especially if you're living somewhere where there's a lot of light pollution, you want to give your eyes that complete blackness, because that's going to help reset your circadian rhythm as well as to bring a lot of relief to your eyes. And that is why we often find that the palming exercise is so good, because it also brings a lot of relaxation. Now, the same thing here, in essence, we're using an eye mask to just bring for that total darkness and a total relaxation to the eyes, so that there's no light stimulation during the hours of sleep, and it allows for those optic nerves to rest, recover, and heal. So there you go. There's some of the conventional tips that you may want to take into consideration. Now, am I saying that these techniques are going to reverse every single eye condition? Most likely not. You're not going to be able to ditch your eyeglasses after just one round of palming. You need to slow down there, Jedi. But what I am saying is that we need to open our minds to these holistic practices. Things that will aim to strengthen, to bring relief, as well as to heal our eyesight in the long term. Wouldn't it be beautiful if we could go to the optometrist and they could prescribe us techniques like sunning, palming, along with the eyeglasses, and to encourage us to use these eyeglasses as crutches just for when we need them, and to allow for the eye muscles to exercise and strengthen over time. That would be the ideal situation we would like to find ourselves. I hope this video helped to provide some insights, and yes, the pun is fully intended over here. If you found this video helpful, please do like this video, share this video, and leave your comments with your own experiences, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for much more wellness related content. Until next time, keep seeing clearly, and don't forget to blink.